And I have a dream that this church should be drilling dozens and dozens and dozens of wells all over Africa. I don't know how we're going to do this, but as you give your resources, we are going to do something with Franklin Graham in the AIDS issue in Africa. We are going to do that. Last year we gave of our resources to Darfur, where 200,000 to 400,000 have been killed. It's in the news almost every single day. And 2 million have fled. They're refugees in the country. And the rebels in there are killing these people. And I'm asking the Lord, I'm asking the Lord, Lord, I do not need facts in my brain. I do not need information only. God, give me your heart. That's what the prophet is doing. The prophet is saying, listen, I feel what God feels. I know what God knows. And I want God to change my heart. I want to feel these things. I want, when I hear there are 25 million people with this virus in Africa, I want to think about that. I want to take that to breakfast with me. I want to take that to my prayer closet with me, and I want to feel it, because it doesn't begin with action. It begins with feeling it. It begins with having the heart of God. It begins with understanding what the prophet is saying. He says, have I not told you to do justice? Have I not told you what you are to do for the people who are hurting? And then he says, has he told you, verse 8, oh man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you to do justice? And he says, to love kindness. One translation just says, love mercy. Mercy feels. Mercy cries. Mercy responds. And it's God's mercy. And there's a gift of mercy. And our prayer is that God would blanket us, would saturate us with mercy. Often the reason we're so depressed, the reason we are so down, is the fact we live in our world. We live in our sickness. We live in our problems. We live in what we're doing. And our whole house, our whole life is around our problems. And somehow, whether you're in your house or whatever, you have to get out of your house. You have to get out of your house. You have to begin to give of something and do justice and love mercy and expand beyond ourselves. And when we do that, God is able to do something that we cannot do ourselves. And we rise up in the power of the Spirit. Daria's not here today, but her husband is here. Alan, would you stand up? Alan and Daria have been trigger points for seeing the lives saved. I think there are 10,000 abortions in our city. Isn't that right? A year, 10,000. That's predicated on one thing, the right of the mother. Mother should have rights before a baby has started to grow as a child. Justice. Who will stand up for the unborn child? Who will stand up? And Daria is standing up and saying, and Alan, and there are others. Who else is working on this cause? Would you stand up? You're a part of this large team. They're working, praying. Thank you. Do you know what? We've had the most amazing thing happen. We haven't been able to get that center open. We've been working on it Monday. We've been working for months and months and months. We have not been able to get it open because of, I could give you the list of the things. Why? The enemy doesn't want there to be the saving of thousands. But I'll tell you, it's not open today, but we have the property and it's almost finished, and somehow we're going to get through the county and everything, and there's going to come a day, and I don't know when the day is going to be, but we're going to see thousands and thousands of babies that are going to be saved because we do justice. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Ed Jordan. Thank you. Stand up, Ed. Here's a man that has one of the richest hearts. He's a part of your life and my life. A man who had a business and decided to lay his business aside and do what? Work with alcoholics and addicts. And if you were with this man in any given week, he would be down there hours and hours and days after days because he believes these men that have nothing. Do we have some of the men here from the ministry that Ed is working with? Would you stand? Are there any of the men here from that ministry? Thank you. Right here. Thank you. Do I have any men here this morning who've been affected by this Recovery House ministry? Would you stand? You've been affected in some way by the Recovery House. And what we're saying today, we're saying that the prophet and what he spoke, these words are right. And they're fresh this morning as they were written in the 8th century, that we are to do justice and love mercy and to walk humbly before the Lord. What does it mean to walk humbly? Humility is the antithesis of pride. Pride says, I'm first. A humble church is a church that decides to walk away from pride and being first and put up the flag of God is first. That's the bottom line of humility. It's self-abasement, not to be walked on like a carpet, because it's not ultimately about us. It's about God's purpose and God's plan. This is our moment. And as Dr. Martin Luther King wrote in his book, Why We Cannot Wait, we say today, we cannot wait. This must happen now. We are going to build this building, and the task before us is huge, awesomely big. But we will not fail to go on a global alert and change the course of history. Together, partnering together to do justice. Say it with me. To do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. History one day will record what we do. One day history will be written about this church, the people that lived here back in 2007, you and me. And may they write that back in 2007, there were a group of people who pushed from the shore of tradition and went far and wide to see the poor, the downhearted, the downtrodden restored. And may this be a church that lifts up every person, because we realize we are made in the image of God.